All right, hey, it's March 3rd. We're going to bring you a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, about almost 3 weeks since we brought you a report. Took a little vacation, then we spent the week down at Table Rock for BFL last week, and but now we're back here at home, fishing the Ozarks, and things are really starting to change. The bass-wise, the temperature's coming up, starting to creep up already, kind of early spring. Which obviously will welcome that. Our water level, it's been pretty steady. Even though we've been getting quite a bit of rain. We're at 654.54 right now, so we're going to say 5 foot low or 5 foot below summer pool. A lot of banks are really sticking out now. I really like it when it's low like this. As the winter drawdown basically is where we're at. A lot of these banks transitions that just get exposed. It's really easy to see the transitions. It's easy to see the types of rock that make up that bank and that contour below the water level. So that really helps. I also think it really condenses the fish down too. There's a whole lot less water. And when they're pulling water or dropping that lake, it usually bunches these fish up, pretty tight, which, that's kind of what we're seeing now. The water temperature, man, it's kind of all over. This is time of year you're going to have fish at different stages, because some of that water warms up quicker than others, or other parts of the lake. We had some rain, obviously. But we didn't get near the rain they were forecasting. A lot of it went just south, but it did clip and catch a lot of the Ozarks. But kind of like, if you look at a map, kind of like up the Niangua, maybe the Glaze, and then that lower end of the lake, kind of got quite a bit of rain, a little more rain. So as far as runoff, how bad that will affect, or how it will affect the lake conditions, you're just going to kind of have to go in different creeks. One side of the lake might be pretty clean, and the other side might be getting a lot of dirty runoff. We kind of looked around a little bit today, trying to see which arms were, getting a lot of runoff water, what color it was, if it was clean, if it was dirty, if it was chocolate milk, and we had all three. So you just kind of got to look around a little bit. We are supposed to get some rain again next week. So if anything kind of tries to clear off, it's probably going to muddy up a little bit more. Not necessarily muddy, but staying up pretty good. The ground was already pretty saturated, so it didn't take a whole lot for the water to start running in these creeks. We noticed today a lot of the bigger creeks had quite a bit of water coming back in the backs. Which this time of year, if it's warm rain or warmer than the water temp, it can be good. Them fish can go right to it. I'd say yesterday afternoon, when it started raining, that temperature was up in the 50s. When it was raining, so that's going to warm up that water if you get some warm water in the back of these creeks. But then today, it was a little cooler. So, you just gotta kind of check it out. And that kind of leads into what a lot of these fish are doing. It's the same every year, how these fish act and respond to longer days, water temperature, runoff, the drawdown. They all have effect on the fish. And some of it really triggers these fish. Like I'm gonna say the longer day. The longer days, longer daylight throughout the day is the main factor, and not necessarily getting hung up on the water temperature as much as I more so rely on the longer days. Everything else is happening. You're seeing buds on trees already. You're seeing flowers bloom already, little flowers. Obviously, the peeper frogs have been going for a week or so. These are all just signs that we kind of watch and look for, throughout the years to kind of tell us what's really going on, and not necessarily all solely on water temperature. So the fishing's getting pretty good. You can catch a lot of fish right now. That water temp. I don't remember if I said it or not, but we're going to say 42 to 48, depending on where you're at in the lake. Some of the creeks can be a lot warmer, but then they can be a little cooler too. So you just kind of got to check each one, maybe idle back in there, look at it if you're looking for warmer water. But like I said, we're at the point now that we're on the upswing in the water temperature. I'm not really worrying about it. It's not like the dead of winter where 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees can make a big difference on these fish. Now we're going, I think we're past that part, and it's more about the daylight, and we're early March, so I think these fish are moving. A lot of them are moving. They don't all move at the same time. I'm sure there's a lot of fish shallow, and there's fish mid depth, and I'm sure there's still fish deep. It's kind of it's a good time of year because you can kind of concentrate or do maybe what you want to do. If you want to fish deep with say Alabama rig or suspended jerk baits or weighted jerk baits, you can still do that. You can do that for several weeks. If you want to get up kind of shallow, say 8 foot and less, and maybe throw a wiggle wart or a rock crawler, you can do that right now. I'm sure, we'll probably be doing that tomorrow. As far as colors, the rock crawler, we get a little bit of stained water, and not even necessarily stained water. Something about red this time of year really seems to trigger a lot of bites. So, this is the rock crawler. Throw that one a lot. That red, kind of a red-orange, burnt orange with a dark back. That's a real good one. If you get down in some cleaner water, we might throw with something a little more natural color. This is actually a custom baits by Dave's Custom Tackle, or custom baits. Kind of more of a natural crawl. If that little cleaner water, maybe if the sun's out, something like this. Kind of switch up your crankbaits if you're. If you go 45 minutes, an hour without a bite, maybe switch it up. Switch up the color. See if you can't get something to trigger a bite. Those are kind of the base colors that kind of stick with. Be honest. I don't get too crazy. Every once in a while, I might throw something with a little bit of chartreuse on it. Maybe one of these older. This is some of these older wiggle warts. They got a little bit of kind of, I think it's called Fire Tiger. Got the old chartreuse on it. Orange belly, a little bit of almost, I ain't gonna say, muddy, but pretty stained, pretty dirty water. You may throw something like this, get their attention. Maybe they can see a little bit better. But like I said, this time of year, it's time for the wiggle warts, the rock crawlers. Even some of the other crankbaits. It's a bait. If you can get them to bite it, it's a good bait to run with because you can just cover a lot of water with it. And sometimes this time of year, it's if you can get a bait that they'll bite and you can cover water, your odds just increase. Because you're just fishing for these fish that have moved up and they're up there feeding. They're up there for one reason right now, and that's to feed. They've moved in. They're feeding on shad still. They're feeding on crawfish. They're probably starting to mess with the bluegill a little bit. There's some bluegill starting to roam around. So, man, everything's in play right now when it comes to baits. You can see here I got everything pretty much organized. Right now we are fishing Ozark Mountain Team Trail tomorrow, and then Anglers in Action on Sunday. 2 really big tournaments. Tomorrow, no Alabama rig. Sunday, they do allow the Alabama rig. So that'll give you an idea of, kind of how much of a part the Alabama rig will play according to the weights. But both of these circuits bring and attract, top-notch anglers from all across the Midwest. So there's going to be weights regardless, Alabama rig or not. It doesn't play that big of a factor, and we'll see that tomorrow by the weights. I expect this tournament tomorrow, it's going to take over 20 pounds to win. It'll take over 20 for both of these tournaments, Saturday and Sunday. So it's just that time of year. These fish are fat. They're up there eating. This is time of year you can catch the biggest fish of your life. It's, you know, like I said, it's when they weigh the most, and it's March before they head in to spawn and dump them eggs. They're feeding up heavy. So, you know, you kind of got to play the weather sometime, but just don't worry about it. Get you some good AFCO gear. Get out there, keep yourself comfortable, and you can catch fish. I expect to catch a lot of fish tomorrow. It's all going to be, can we catch the quality? You know, like I said, as far as baits to throw, you know, I'll be honest, I've got all my rods tucked away here. I'm not going to pull them out now, but I've got different jigs. I've got 3 different jigs on. I've got half-ounce zapper, Crappie zapper, and Ozarks crawl. I've got one in brown purple scale, depending on if it's sunny or not. If it's cloudy, I'll throw that brown purple scale. If it's sunny, I'll probably stick with my Ozarks crawl. I've got it in both half and 3/8 ounce. You know, with the trailer, with a little beefy trailer, and then I got one with the ring crawl trailer. You know, try to give them. I got to figure out what they want each day, and tomorrow we may have to go through that a little bit. Obviously, I've got 3 different stick baits on there, and I do have these out here. You know, the what we call this one? Wakasaki is a really good one. You know, if it's sunny, it's got a lot of transparent, puts out a lot of flash, pretty clear water, you know, but even kind of little stain, it throws off a lot of flash. That Wakasaki is really, really good color. Then we got this Cosmic, no, what was that? It's a hard one to pronounce. It Kasori Shad, and it's got a little chartreuse line down the side. You know, it looks just like a shad, but a little bit of chartreuse for a little bit of stained water. You know, that's a Megabass Vision 110, a real good one. This other one is the perch. It's called Yellow Perch. This one gets really good this time of year. It's been pretty good all winter. This is a good one, kind of cloudy, semi-cloudy, overcast day. If you see bluegill roaming around up around the bank or around these docks, they'll start just kind of grouping up. They're kind of coming up out of the depths, and they'll group up around these docks. This is a good one to throw. It looks just like them bluegill. So any of those 3, you know, just kind of same with the crankbait. Switch it up. You know, if you're not getting a bite in 45 minutes or an hour, switch your stick bait color, and also switch the style of banks you're fishing. You know, like I said, the water's down 5 foot. These banks are really sticking out. So fish the bluffy, ledgy looking rock, fish boulders, fish a pea gravel mixture, fish all 3 of those throughout the day if you're not getting bite. I mean, if you're getting bites on any particular type of rock, run that, because a lot of these fish will be doing the same thing. So, you know, this is a time of year where you really want to pay attention when you do get a bite, exactly what your depth is, what your bank looks like, how far you're in a creek, if you're at the mouth of a creek, midway, towards the backs, if you're on the shoulders, going into pockets off these creeks. Really pay attention, because a lot of these fish, they tend this time of year, they do the exact same thing, and they move the same, and they move kind of in schools. You know, they'll move, you know, several of them will go together, and they'll move, and they'll go at each one of these stages kind of together. So if you catch a fish or 2, you can really kind of slow down and pay attention, and then duplicate that throughout the lake. Obviously, I've got my swamp bugs on there. I'll definitely be throwing some swamp bugs tomorrow. You know, I'm throwing both colors. I'm throwing the green pumpkin red flake. I've got the moss candy. The moss candy, which is the more of a lime, I would call it kind of a lime green. You know, this one here is a really good if it's sunny, a little clear water. If it's dirty or muddy, you know, you can stick with kind of a darker color. You know, they're just going to see that silhouette. But I've got a couple of swamp bugs tied on. like I said, different stick baits. It may be, I'm not going to rule out a spinnerbait tomorrow either. I've got a couple spinnerbaits tied on. Chatterbait this time of year. You can go through pretty much everything. I I hope we can kind of dial it in really quick tomorrow morning. I expect the bites. Another thing I will say is the bites really change this time of year, morning to afternoon. What these fish will do. A lot of times they may pull out at night. Like tonight, it's pretty cool. It's going to be down in the 30s. A lot of times these fish will pull out and go down and suspend just a little bit down there where that water temperature is real stable. But then tomorrow it's supposed to get up to 60 and sunny, so that's going to warm them shallows up, and them fish, they'll go right to that bank. Maybe I don't know, midday there'll be a early bite. It'll probably slow down a little bit, and then towards the afternoon I expect another bite, and that's when I hope and expect to catch some bigger fish. Some big females will move up and they'll start roaming and they'll start feeding real good. Probably, I don't know, noon, maybe a little later. We'll just see. We'll see tomorrow. But the bite's been good. Denise has been out last several days, and she's been catching plenty of keepers. So it's all a matter of catching some size tomorrow. I think I know where they're at. I think we just need to get them bite. It's no different than any other year. You've just got to really pay attention, follow your channels. These channels are just roadways and paths that these fish live by throughout the entire year, especially this time of year. When they're traveling, when they're moving, coming out of winter pattern, going to springtime patterns, they'll follow these channels, whether it be main lake, major creeks, or smaller creeks. They will follow these channels from the main lake point, midway back down the center of the creek. Sometimes them shadows will school up out in the middle of these creeks, and you got to throw a stick bait or an A-rig or something right out in the middle of the cove underneath these shad to catch them. So, but it's still probably relating to the channel some sort of way. So just keep that in mind. Man, that's really it. I just wanted to give you a real quick report tonight. I know a lot of guys are coming down for these two tournaments. A lot of guys are just coming down fishing. The high school deal is next week. There's going to be a lot of guys down next week. And from here on out, this fishing is just going to get increasingly getting better. We've got, let's see, we had rain the last couple days. We're going to have partly sunny tomorrow, sunny Sunday, sunny Monday, 65, 70 degrees. Tuesday it starts to fall a little bit, and then by the end of the next week they're calling for snow. 30s in the morning till 20s to 30s, a little bit of snow maybe, and rain again Wednesday through the weekend. It's not real comfortable to fish in that sometimes, but I can tell you next week, Thursday, Friday, when we get that nasty weather comes in here, be ready, because them fish will bite, and they will bite big time when you get a warm up like we're going to have at the beginning of this week, where 65, 70 degrees, a little bit of breeze. That's going to bring that water temperature up 3, 4 degrees, 5 degrees maybe, and them big females are going to move. And once they move, and they move shallow, they stay there or they stay close. So once they're up there, and then we get one of these real low pressure systems like we're going to have at the end of next week, they're going to eat, and they're going to eat good. So just be prepared for that next week. The high school guys should have a really good tournament next week if you can stay warm and dry. So like I said, just get yourself equipped. The AFCO gear, the reapers, this is a great time for the reaper. You can put the hood up when you're running. It's got the face deal you can put up. Keep your face dry or cool or warm. Not so much wind chap. And then obviously the AFCO outerwear keep you warm and dry too. Boy, as far as anything else I can really tell you, that's about it right now. The crappie, I will touch on the crappie. Crappie's still really good. Big schools of crappie, probably bigger than I can remember ever seeing. I mean, hundreds of crappie at a time in one school. So, once you find these schools, you can just sit on top of them and catch a limit pretty quick, pretty easy. Some days are a little stubborn. You're watching on a live scope, you see the school, you see your bait, and sometimes they just don't eat, and you got to really play with them and really bring that bait through there, change the speed, let it drop, maybe even vertically jig over top of them. But once you get them to start feeding and you get one or two to bite, the rest of them usually start biting too. So if you see them out there, you can mess with them long enough and get them to bite if they're not just biting automatically. So a lot of them are moving towards the bank. The slip bobber is working really good right now. Set that thing about, I don't know, 3 foot, 3.5 foot, throw it to the bank, and just crank it in really slow. Let the little waves, the wind just kind of move that thing, and just reel it a little bit, stop it, let it sit there, let that bait kind of catch up to the bobber, and then reel it again a little bit, and you're going to catch a lot of fish like that, especially if you see them big schools. A lot of times that's how you can fire them schools up, is just keep that bait right on top of them. If they're really active, you can still throw that little 3-inch little, what do we call that thing?
Easy shiner.
That little easy shiner that Kitech makes on a little 16th or 8th ounce head, and just reel it right through them, underneath them. Usually, like I said, throw it past them, let it sink below them, and then bring it up through them, and you'll catch them like that. Plenty of fish like that. Brush helps. It's not necessary. There's a lot of fish just out in the middle around these shad. I will tell you, they've been running current, quite a bit of current, to keep this water down and where they want it at winter pool. So when they pull that amount, when I say a lot, from 25 to 35,000 cubic foot, they'll shut it off, but then they'll ramp it right back up again. And when they run that quite a bit, a lot of these shad will just move out naturally out to the center of the creeks, over the top of the channels, maybe back off of the bank a little bit. And the bass that are feeding up right now, heavy, the crappie are, and they'll just get underneath and follow these shad around wherever they're at. So, if they continue to run that water like that, stick bait's probably going to really shine as these fish are off the bank. If they shut the water down, and we get some good sunlight, I hope a lot of fish will move shallow so I can catch them on that jig like I like. But, I've learned throughout, obviously, the years not to be too stubborn-headed and really keep an open mind. And this time of year, you've got to keep an open mind and not get locked in on one particular pattern. Just because I caught them yesterday or the day before really good on a jig, tomorrow they may not bite the jig at all. So I got to be open to it. I got to and realize it along with yourself, that if you're not getting a bite within an hour doing a certain thing, it's time to change. This is time of year that you can change quite a bit, and it might just be change the trailer. On a jig, you might change from a flatter, not a lot of action trailer to something with a lot more action. Might just trigger the bite, or vice versa. Same with stick baits. The color, obviously, yes, but your cadence and your speed, you might want to really speed it up. You might want to slow it down. You might let it sit for a while. When I say sit for a while, let it sit for 20, 30 seconds. Just sit there and then start moving again. Sometimes it takes that bait to be above these fish long enough for them finally to move up and grab that bait. So you play with your cadence, change your speed on your retrieve on these jerk baits. Maybe like the Vision 110 +1, the ones go a little bit deeper. Just going 2-3 foot deeper can make a world of difference of a fish actually reacting. And same thing with the shallower ones. You don't want to get down below them fish. if they're up high in the water column. So there's just a lot of things you can play with and get yourself trigger some bites. And like I said before, just really pay attention right now when you get a bite, no matter what bait it's on, what you were doing, how fast you were retrieving it, what the bank looks like, just all of it. Just really make a mental note of what you were doing and what everything else around you looks like, you know, so you can duplicate that. So right now you can catch fish. You can catch a winning bag for tournaments if you're fishing tournaments down by the dam, or probably at the 90-mile marker, or way up the Glaze. Any of these river arms, this entire lake right now will produce a winning bag. Tomorrow, Sunday, there'll be good bags brought in from all over this entire lake. So to say you got to go to this area or this area to catch a winning bag or a lot of fish, not this time of year. You just got to fish the conditions with the right bait in whatever area you're at, watercolor, current, banks, whatever it is. Just really focus on that. Boy, that's about it. That's all I can tell you. I know Fitz Fishing, Bryant's, Osage Outdoors, all the tackle stops are all loaded up with crocodile baits right now. They're loaded up with all the tackle, all the springtime baits, and all the stores have what you need right now. So if you do get down here and you're needing any kind of tackle, run to one of these stores and stock up on whatever you need. And ask some of them guys in them tackle stores. They all want to see you catch fish, just like we do. So if you ask them, they're going to lead you in the right direction. Don't be excuse me, if you're new to bass fishing or you don't fish a lot in the winter, don't be shy by any means of asking anybody. You go in, Rob's stores or Ben's stores or Jessica's store, either one. You go in and you say, hey, look, what bait's working right now? What's the setup? Rod, reel, line, bait. You ask them, and they're going to tell you. They will walk you around the store, and they will tell you. That's the good thing about shopping local with professional stores like this instead of some of your bigger box stores. They'll lead you in the right direction because they want you to catch fish. And these guys and gals are all experienced fishermen, so they know what they're talking about. So it's worth going in and visiting one of these stores. So with that being said, good luck if you get down here. If Denise or I can help you out with crappie or bass trips, please give us a call, 573-204-9005. You can text me, you can call me, 314-226-3099. For Denise, you can either text her or call her too. If you call us or text us, we will get back with you as soon as we can. We've had a lot of calls this week. March is getting pretty full. April's getting pretty full. We've got days, obviously, between one of the two of us, we'll get you taken care of. This is time of year to get down to the lake. The fishing's good. The big boats aren't out yet. Just for the next several weeks, it's going to be really good. So until then, be safe. Wear your life jackets. Keep your head on a swivel. When you're running down the lakes in the morning, try not to hug them shorelines. So when you come to big creeks or cove, you don't want that intersection where you don't have any response time. If someone's coming out or exiting that cove or creek, just say if you're heading down the lake towards the dam from the Glaze, and there's a tournament going out of Ahana, there's a lot of boats coming out of there. When you turn that corner, guys are wrapped up, they got hoods on. Just give yourself some room. Get out in the center of that lake so you've got some response time. You can see people coming, they can see you. Just keep yourself safe. So until next week, we'll start increasing the reports, I promise, as we get more into fishing or into the spring and things are changing weekly, if not daily. So until then, good luck.